What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and you all know how much I love this video every single month. So here's what I will say right off the bat. We have been doing this video for 8 consecutive months. At the beginning of every single month, we look at the actual grading numbers from PSA, SGC, CGC, Beckett for the previous month, because we all understand that that is like hobby level, macro level information that gives us an idea of what is going on in sets and singles and even across different countries. And that is what I was going to call out about this video right here. I get questions all the time about the Japanese card market, and a lot of times I simply say, I don't know enough about that. I haven't done enough research into it. Well, I am going to tell you this video today has some amazing data about some significant changes that are going on in the Japanese card market, and I am pumped to get that in front of you. And I will also say, out of the 8 months that we've been doing this, we have never seen so many firsts. There are firsts in this video that I never thought would happen, but have actually happened in the grading space last month. So listen, with all that being said, as I alluded to a minute ago, we do fun stuff like this all the time. And if you are into the data side of things, if you like getting these macro level views of what's going on in the Pokemon collecting and investing hobby, we're building an amazing group here, and I would love it if you hit that subscribe button and you joined us. Hey, if you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. As a small YouTube channel, those 3 things go a long way in helping us out, and it just lets me know you appreciate the work that I do. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into this incredible July grading report video. So we always start off with these 2 views right here. We got PSA on the left, where you can see the total number of cards that were graded at PSA over the last 2 years. Now, what is amazing is PSA is so far and away above the other grading companies, we have to do this separate graph on the right to break them out. Now, PSA is up month over month. It's up about 4%. And now the graph on the next slide is going to tell you why. To me, I'm not too excited about this up 4% month over month, simply because it's being driven specifically by one segment. But it is overall up 4% year over year. Now, SGC saw a small decline last month, down 2% month over month. But I tell you what, last year, SGC must have been on absolute fire, because even though they're down 2% month over month, they're up 76% versus their grading numbers last year. Now, Beckett was trending up. You guys know I love Beckett. I remember my fondest memories as a kid was sprinting to the mailbox and getting that Beckett magazine, because when I was growing up, we didn't have the internet, so we had to use the magazines that came from Beckett. But they have been doing really well over late, but guess what? They really took a downward trend, right? They dropped 24% month over month, but they are still up 14% year over year. And if you are to trend line out that blue Beckett line there on the bottom right in that graph, you will see that even though they had a really rough month, they are still trending up over the last 6 months. So that's really exciting to me. CGC, I talk about this every single month. I know a lot of people really love CGC. I always say grade with the company that you love. If you love the slabs, if you think that they're the best grading company, absolutely grade with them. But again, 2 months in a row, they are the only company that is down year over year and month over month. They just can't seem to figure it out. They just can't seem to get their foothold. And you just see that they've been on this crazy downward in the right trajectory. And even on the months where they really pop up, it's that light green line right there. You'll see even in the months where they pop up, they subsequently drop right back down the next month. Now, I am pulling for one of these secondary grading companies to come up from nowhere and absolutely challenge PSA. All markets are good when there's a 1 and a 1A. And right now it's PSA, and everybody else is just at the back of the line trying to play catch up. So I really hope one of them figures it out, and I'm really pulling for Beckett. But at the end of the day, as long as somebody does it and somebody's there to push PSA and challenge them on quality, challenge them on price, challenge them on turnaround time, that will make me very happy. Now, this is the graph that I was talking about earlier. I was going to save it for the end, but then I thought, you know what? Not everybody makes it to the end. So I'm going to save this in the beginning, and I want to talk about it right now because I think everybody should hear about this. Now, what does this mean where I say PSA Japan impact? So PSA opened up a grading center in Japan last month. Now, they have always had a small home office there since 2018, but at the end of the day, all of the cards had to come to the US. They would get graded in California. Then they would go back to Japan. Now, they have opened that. Look, you will see on this graph when they opened the Japanese grading center. Look at the increase in TCG cards graded by week. It was on this downward in the right trajectory. That's why I wasn't too excited to see those PSA numbers up month over month and up year over year, only 4%. The TCG cards were down and to the right. No, grading was going down, like it was getting a little bit scary out there. They opened this grading facility out there in Japan, and it almost doubles overnight. Now, What do I think this means for the Japanese hobby as a whole? So we all know that Japanese cards have been on fire as of late, but here's what I will say. If anybody out there, like if you're holding a great Japanese card, right, and it's in a PSA 10 holder and a lot of its value is coming because it's a really low pop card, if it was printed in the last 2 or 3 years, you just need to be aware that that low population is probably going to change, because this graph clearly shows that now that they have a grading center in Japan, now that the turnaround times are going to be significantly lower, a lot more people are going to be getting these Japanese cards graded. We also know that Japanese cards as a whole have an incredibly high gem rate. So all I'm saying is this: I'm not saying that the PSA 10 values are going to continue to go up. I'm not saying that they're going to go down. I'm not saying that they're going to stay steady state. All I'm saying is that you need to be aware, if you're a Japanese buyer, collector, if you're an investor in the Japanese space, you need to be aware that there is no undenying there is going to be more Japanese graded cards in the market here very soon. Japan has no problem shipping cards to the US. We see that all the time. I even notice this in my eBay search. Every single morning I have saved searches. I wake up and I look for certain cards, and I have noticed, without even seeing this was going on, I have noticed that there are more Japanese cards available out there right now. And I don't know if that's because the ones who are holding it are getting new ones graded and they're willing to sell them. I don't know if they're using a very quick turnaround time to get them out there, but I have certainly noticed that there's some more in the market. So anyways, we all need to be acutely aware that this is going on, especially with all of the velocity and all of the hype that's been going on in the Japanese market. So with that being said, let's look at the most graded sets last month in the TCG space. So listen, we finally had a shakeup in the top 3. It has been the top 3 for like 4 months in a row. Nothing has changed. V-Star is still up there. I don't know what's gonna knock that off. But guess what? Again, with that Japanese grading center open, we now see more Japanese sets in the top 10 than we've ever seen before. 8 of the top 10 most graded sets are all Japanese, which is absolutely crazy. I do love seeing that the 1999 Pokemon game, right? Like the original one here in the US is still holding strong, and despite all of these Japanese cards getting graded, the 1999 Pokemon game is still up there. Now, last month we did see Scarlet and Violet in English make a dent. The Scarlet and Violet English set was on here. I was really hoping it would make it 2 months in a row. I just want these beginning sets of Scarlet and Violet to do well. And you know, there's no greater indication of the hobby and the market's overall trust that the cards will grow and appreciate in value than having them graded. Because if somebody pulls a Miriam, right, and they think that, hey, this is going to appreciate a lot over time, a lot of times they'll get that graded. Or there will be people who like to buy and hold, and they'll buy 10 of them and they'll send 10 of them in to get graded because they think I can buy them for 50, 60 bucks now, and I think in 5 years they're going to be worth $400. So I don't like the fact that Scarlet and Violet was on there for 1 month and then they dropped off. Will Paldea Evolved end up here? I don't know. Is everybody just waiting for 151 to drop here in the US? Who knows? But it is fascinating to see that Japan is absolutely taking over and that Scarlet and Violet was on and then it dropped off. Now, the next one we're going to look at these are the most graded cards. So these are just individual cards in the TCG space that were graded the most last month. As no surprise, Ultra Modern is just absolutely crushing the top of this list. And this is one of the first. We have never seen a 100% Japanese list before. Not even close. Never. Hard stop. Never have we seen no US cards on this list of top 10 graded. Again, got to be some impact from that center opening up in Japan, and the Japanese market just had all of these pent-up cards. They were excited. They love PSA. They love Pokemon collecting, right? Like, that's nothing you don't know. Everybody knows that. But as soon as that center opened up, they just flooded it with submissions, and this is the result, right? Like, we see a top 10 list that is all Japanese cards. Now, it was interesting because that Pikachu Scarlet and Violet promo was the #1 graded card for like 3 months in a row, and it finally fell off. But listen, there's a ton of full art trainers on this list, which doesn't surprise anybody, right? We know those Japanese full art trainers, especially special illustration wares, just command such a high price point, so it's not surprising to see them up here. And again, when we look at these lists, I want to call out, these are all TCG lists, right? So there can be Magic on here, there can be anything from the TCG space, but these are all Pokemon, and that just speaks to the power, the volume, the strength of the Pokemon market compared to all of the other ones out there, right? So I always think that's really, really cool to call out. And then I always look at this as well. You know that I'm a firm believer that the sooner you get your cards to PSA, the better the chance is of a PSA 10. Now, we have been doing this video for 8 months, as I said earlier on. This is almost always the case. The current gem rate is almost always lower than the all-time gem rate. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why it is. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to put any rumors out there. But I do find it very interesting that, listen, this month, 7 of the 10 current month gem rates are down versus the all-time gem rates. 2 of them are flat, and only 1 is up, and the one that's up is only up by 1%. So I certainly think that we have done this for long enough. We have seen enough data to validate that it is almost certain that the sooner you get your cards to PSA, if it's on the fence of a PSA 9 or a PSA 10, if you are one of the first ones to get there, you have the better odds of reaching a PSA 10 status. Now, next thing that we're looking at, and this was another first. So thanks to Marnie, this is the first time we have seen a shakeup in the top 8 cards on here, okay? Pikachu, Charizard, Mew, Umbreon, like these are always up there. But thanks to Marnie, the top 8 has shifted. Not only has the top 8 shifted, this is the first time we've done this where Charizard isn't number 1. Everybody in the Pokemon YouTube space is talking about Charizard one way or the other. They're talking about, hey, not all Charizard cards are doing bad. Hey, all Charizard cards are tanking, etc., etc., etc. But guess what? We have never seen Charizard not in that number 1 spot. We have never seen a full art trainer in the top 8 spot. We have never seen this kind of shakeup before. Look, you got Lily up there. You got Elisa up there, right? Like there's some awesome cards of hers. And then Giratina leapfrogs Rayquaza. I mean, this is such a cool video. This is such awesome information for us to digest because this is all new and it is all exciting. I love seeing Charizard get dethroned. Now, barely got dethroned, right? Like Pikachu barely knocked him off, but still really interesting to see Charizard take the number 2 seat when we have never seen that before in the last 8 months. So, next thing that we're looking at here, this is cards graded by category, and I chart this every single month. I shared when I first started this YouTube channel, I said, I think TCG space Pokemon cards are going to overtake ball sports as the primary cardboard collecting space in the future. Now, I don't think that future is anytime soon. I think we have years and years and years to go, but what I track down here is every single month when we do this report, I track baseball, basketball, and football combined versus TCG grading, simply because I think that's a good, kind of a good barometer of where the hobby is heading, right? If there's more TCG than ball sports, like that's probably good for TCG, and it kind of wobbles around a little bit. You'll see when I first did this in December, it was 81.5%, right, was the TCG ratio to ball sports. And then this month, and again, this is strictly driven by that huge increase by PSA opening up the Japan Service Center, but this is the first time ever we have seen the overall number of TCG cards greater than the overall number of ball sports. Now, it is honestly, I don't know, I'm speechless. I didn't think this was going to happen anytime soon. I certainly anticipated it happening. We need to keep an eye on this in the future, and it's very important to understand that a lot of this is being driven by those Japanese cards. So it doesn't matter though. Pokemon's such an international hobby, right? Like we in the US, people in the UK, people in Canada, like we have a very international audience here. Everybody knows of the Japanese Pokemon cards, right? It was the birth of Pokemon. So it is very cool to see that. And I don't think it matters where they come from. I just think it's very, very cool to see Pokemon taking over here, especially since, listen, basketball is big in China and Japan, right? Baseball is huge in Japan, right? So even though Japan now has that service center, most of it is coming through as Pokemon cards, which is freaking epic. Next one right here, we always look at gem rate by era. So when you look at PSA and you look at that gem rate, I am 100% convinced, there is no doubt in my mind, that huge jump in gem rate is simply because, guess what? A lot of Japanese cards got graded. Like we've already talked about that. We know the gem rate on Japanese cards are freaking huge, right? We absolutely know that they have an incredibly higher gem rate versus the US because guess what? The print quality is better. No surprise, right? So when we see this really high PSA TCG gem rate month over month, I think it's simply because the Japanese got that PSA grading center and they're grading a whole lot. Now, Beckett, listen, this is one of the reasons I love the comments here, and this is one of the reasons I respond to all of them personally. I read all of them personally. Like, I take them to heart. I think you guys are absolutely amazing and genius. Last time when I did this video, I was talking about Beckett's gem rate, and they're like, well, yeah, of course Beckett's gem rate's going to be higher, and that's because people are chasing the black labels. So the cards that they choose to send to Beckett are of a higher quality because they're hoping for a black label. If you think it's going to get a black label, it should at least fall short and end up in a gem mint holder. So I thought that was a really smart call out. But then I thought to myself, hey, wouldn't we see the same thing in CGC? Wouldn't everybody be chasing the gold label there in CGC, trying to get that perfect 10? I don't know, but you know what I did? I bought my very first CGC 10 the other day, and I was very excited about it. I haven't had one. It's coming in the mail, and I'm excited to hold it in my hands and check out the quality, simply because I talk a lot about CGC. I'm kind of a CGC hater, and it's not because I don't think their slabs are cool. It's not because I don't think they do a great job grading. It's simply because that the numbers that are coming out of there, I just don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it in this very competitive space. So CGC, I am excited to get one of your products in my hand. I've already cracked a couple and sent them to PSA, and you did me right because I got PSA 10s, but I'm excited to get that perfect 10 in my hand and take a look at it. But this gem rate by era report was fascinating this month as well. Now, the very next thing that we're going to look at right here, hold on, is the TCG cards graded by month. Now remember, we are always plotting this because we want to see that upward and the right trajectory. I was talking about how it has been down the last couple months, and I was really excited to see July. Is July a bounce back month? Is it going to be up year over year? Like, are we going to continue to see this downward trend? Well, guess what? The freaking Japanese market absolutely blew that, because it's hard for us to tell what the overall trend is right here in the US when all of a sudden we have a new one open in Japan. But it's all good, because at the end of the day, listen, we want the overall Pokemon hobby to be strong. We want the overall PSA population to be out there, so people who want the really cool cards in a PSA 10 slab can afford them and can get them. And guess what? It doesn't matter, because if they're great cards in high grade in 5, 10, 15 years, they will appreciate in value. I have absolutely no concern about that at all. And as always, as I say, a strong hobby, whether it's international, whether it's domestic, wherever you live, whether it's in your backyard or overseas, a strong interest in Pokemon, a strong grading presence in Pokemon is good for all of us in the long run. I promise you that. So I was excited to see this, a little disappointed because I kind of wanted to see it broken out, because I kind of wanted to get an understanding of what the actual US market did, because that is the primary dominant market compared to Japan. But we didn't get to see that, so we shall see in the future if this trend continues. And then here's the slide I always end with, because listen, this is just overall grading trends. Listen, just like I said, overall Pokemon strength is good. Overall cardboard strength is good. At the end of the day, Pokemon cards are an alternative asset. Like, that's it. We're investing in ink, we're investing in cardboard, and we are hoping, right, that people will find value in this in the future. So when the overall cardboard market is doing well, all of us as Pokemon collectors and investors should feel really good as well. And again, PSA saw another strong month, you know, a little over 1 million cards graded. Year over year numbers are still looking good. It is a little bit of a kick in my shins, because I was really excited to see what these numbers would look like just kind of organically without the addition of a new grading center. But hey, listen, the hobby is strong. I feel really good about this, and I think we have some really cool content to talk about in the future when it comes to the Japanese cards and the overall health of the market. Now, with that being said, if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, obviously this is up your alley. So do it. Hit that subscribe button. Questions or comments, drop them down below. Hey, and if you like what you saw, give us a thumbs up. I appreciate you, and you all have an epic day. Thank you.